The Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Houston has been touching the lives of young people in one way or another, going into its 68th year. It looks much different now than it did even 4 months ago because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But even with the many changes that have been put into place, the mission is still the same and being executed. Here this morning to talk about what that mission is and how accomplishing it has changed and what the future holds, Kevin Hattery, he was the president and CEO of the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Houston, and Julius Young is the chair of the board. Thank you both for being here. We appreciate what you do. And Kevin, talk about the mission. What is the mission of the Boys and Girls Club, and how has that changed with the pandemic in place?
Well, good morning, Cambrell. On behalf of Boys and Girls Club, we appreciate the opportunity to join you, and thank you for what you're doing through this public health crisis as well. Boys and Girls Club provides programming to young people ages 6 to 17, providing academic success, character development, and healthy lifestyle programming. And at this time, what we've had to do is pivot, like many other organizations, in order to best meet the needs of the vulnerable communities that we are serving. And so we have altered our programming to provide drive-through food pantries to support the healthy lifestyles of our families and children both. We've also started up some virtual interactive learning, and we call it the on-demand club experience, and that's on our website so that kids can go there and continue their academic learning while they're out of school. We've also, and this is really important, we have been making calls to our families and club members for the last 9 weeks, averaging 1,000 calls per week to do what we call our family check-ins and to help them, guide them through this situation. So
continuing to stay in touch. And Julius, how difficult has the challenge been to turn away from what has been a hands-on kind of atmosphere that the Boys and Girls Club, you always see that kids are playing, interacting with teachers and that sort of thing. You've had to adjust the way you implement your mission, but what kind of challenge has it been to change to the virtual and other kinds of ways, even though you know the mission's being accomplished?
Well, I'd say it's been emotional, right? Our staff and the board and the leadership group, we care for those kids. And for a lot of those kids, these are safe zones for them. And what we worry about is for a long time, those kids could relieve themselves from some pretty difficult circumstances and find their way, to one of our clubs. And in an extended period of time, it was emotional for us to imagine what some of these kids are going through. So as Kevin mentioned, that outreach program that we've had, reaching out to thousands of families and making sure that connection was there, was really important for the kids, the families, and us to make sure we're continuing that mission.
Kevin, what kind of feedback are you getting from the contacts you're making, the communications you're making with all those families now? I know you talk about how important it is to make those connections. What kind of feedback are you getting from them in terms of being so happy to hear from you during this time?
Yeah, I would think that's probably the most important thing, was that our parents really appreciated the fact that we were reaching out to them, number one. Number two, it also drove the altering of our delivery model. So when this situation started, about at least 1 out of 3 parents were saying that they had food insecurity. So that drove our decision to set up a lot of drive-through food pantries in the areas that we serve. And then the second item is the fact that they want to know when the clubs are going to open back up. They want 85%, most recently surveyed, said that they want a place for their children to go to for summer programming.
And Kevin, I know you work with Julius and the board regularly, very importantly, on determining how you're going to open up and when you're going to open up. Julius, talk about the challenge that you have in terms of finding the way that you guys want to open up safely to be able to accomplish the goals of the organization, but yet make sure that everybody's going to be safe in that process.
It's a great question, and our chief concern is safety. And our biggest challenge is going to be allowing as many kids as possible into our facilities in a safe social distance format. And that's tough. We're gonna have to make some tough decisions in terms of how to do that, but we're gonna do that with the safety of the kids and our staff in mind. That easily is the biggest challenge.
Partnerships seem to be a very, very big part of what everybody's doing these days, especially nonprofits. Kevin, talk about the partnerships that you've developed with other nonprofit organizations and how that's helped.
We have great partnerships with the Y, the Houston Food Bank, Children at Risk. These are all organizations that we have a routine conversation with, so that we're all on the same page going forward as we start to look for the opportunities to open up. And some of the additional partnerships are going to become even more important as we go forward, those with social and emotional well-being, because that's what families and kids are going to need, as well as the partnerships with our independent school districts as we look to identify the best ways possible to support the children, especially when you think about reading and math. And this pandemic learning slide is going to compound what would typically happen during the summer months. And so we're going to be there partnering with those organizations to best serve the children and the families.
Julius, I'm a volunteer board leader as well, so I understand our goal and our responsibility. One of the challenges going forward is to make sure we have the funding in place. Talk about the challenge you have. How can people best support you and what the Boys and Girls Club is doing right now in terms of the funding?
No, you're absolutely right. And this is a unique crisis in that it is impacting everyone. Not just those at risk, not just those at a certain population or a certain section of the city. So we're fighting for dollars. And the best thing we can do is make sure we get as much exposure as we can to our mission and get as much exposure as we can to the issues that are out there in the economy ultimately that are going to rear their head once this really starts to open up in a significant way. When you think about what's going to happen once the economy really starts to open up is there's going to be a lot of damage out there. In order to protect the kids and also in order to get the families back to work, it's important for institutions like the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Houston to be there to support.
Well, we're going to make sure I put your information on the Newsmakers page at click2houston.com so people can go to it, find out what the mission is, and contribute if they should want to, and I hope that they will. Thank you both for being here this morning. Good luck in the weeks and months and years ahead as you continue to make big impacts on our children and our community. Thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.